Welcome to Stareable Fest 2020's presentation of our inaugural Creator Achievement Award. My name is Ajay Kishore. I'm the founder and CEO of Stareable. Stareable Fest is the premier annual indie TV and web series festival in the US, the new home for digital creative talent in the television industry. We honor the year's best content and provide a space for the next generation of creators to connect with industry executives, grow their network, learn new skills, and build community. Today, I'm honored to have you with us as we present Katja Blichfeld with Stareable Fest's Creator Achievement Award. First, I want to thank our festival sponsors, with our Creator Achievement Award being presented by Teld Technologies, who makes workstation and monitor solutions purpose-built for creators like you. We'd also like to thank AMC Networks, Shutterstock, and Adorama. If this is your first event in Shindig, just a couple notes about interacting on the platform. You can click the TV icon on the left side of your screen to open the virtual screening room to watch any of the shows that are part of the official selection lineup of the festival. You can click on anyone in the audience to start a private video chat with them. We won't be able to hear you up on stage. On the bottom toolbar, far right side, you'll see a lock icon. When it's unlocked, you're available to have video chats with other audience members. When it's locked, people cannot start chatting with you. If you haven't already, please allow your browser to enable your camera and your microphone. Click the gear icon in the top right corner and change the settings to enable your camera and mic. We will present our award to Katja and then share with you a fireside chat, asking some questions our audience submitted in advance. Now, I'd like to start by sharing this compilation of Katja's work.
I'm stuck. I'm trying to work through it, and I was saying to the guy today, how am I supposed to do that if, I can't even authentically tune into who I feel like I am.
Did you let the weed guy see you dressed like that?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Colin!
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know.
What did he say?
He was very cool about it.
He was?
Yeah, I felt comfortable, and...
You did?
Yeah, we talked. It was good. And it was kind of thrilling, and it was, it was a rush, definitely.
Oh, I like this. I really like this.
Good.
I'm so proud of you. I'm really proud of you.
I love you.
Love you too. You didn't smoke all the weed though, did you?
Would you rather launch a baby from a catapult or catch a baby being launched from a catapult?
Oh, God. I don't want to do either.
You have to answer.
Well, okay. What would happen to the baby if I didn't catch it?
Exactly what you think would happen.
Shit. Well, I'm not very coordinated. So, I guess I'd launch the baby?
Cold-blooded.
Well,
Damn.
I imagine I'd be stepping aside for someone more suitable for the task at hand.
I would catch any baby you launch from a catapult. I'd catch any baby, all the babies you launched, I would catch.
You catch them all?
Mm-hmm.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, can I buy some?
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
No, I don't know what you mean.
I mean, I live right there. I can smell it.
Did I see you downstairs with your mom?
Yeah,
just
it's
now?
my aunt.
Okay. Sorry, no, I can't.
Come on, dude. What's the deal? I have money.
I don't tell the kids, man.
I'm not a kid. I'm in college.
Well, get weed at college then.
Can't. It's complicated. I lost my connect.
I get it, but I have the system where people give me a referral of other people, and that's how you get weed from me. So I'm sorry, I can't help you today. Can't go bending the rules.
Okay.
Maybe ask your neighbors.
Can we just lay here for a bit?
Sure.
Can you put your arm around me?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. I'm sorry, both arms.
Is that a buzzsaw?
Sounds like it.
It's 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Is this okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not just cuddling with me because you don't know how to kick me out.
No. This is great. This is what I wanted.
Good. I want to make sure that you
Thank you.
get what you want. I'm kind of new at this. Again? Wow, that's disrespectful. Didn't know this was a construction zone. You should have worn my vest and my hard hat, my tool belt, right?
Is this what you do with all the girls? You bring them back here to puzzle?
You should know that I'm asexual.
You are?
I should have told you earlier. I take it you're not?
No.
A little joke, but I am.
How asexual are you?
Completely.
Oh. There's a spectrum.
I know.
I'm sorry. I thought that we were on a date.
No, yeah. We are. I mean, I hope we are.
Yeah. So you're not aromantic?
So you know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
You know the words. No, I am not a romantic. And I'm not a virgin, technically, but I do abstain. And that's important to me. Is that okay?
Oh my God, yes.
I know.
Of course it's yes, it's okay. Of course. Thank you. Thank you for sharing who you are with me.
I'm gonna go get another. Do you want one of these?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'd like to welcome our guest of honor, Katja Blichfeld. Katja is the co-creator of High Maintenance, which premiered its 4th season on HBO in early 2020. They are also a WGA award-winning writer and writer-director on the series. Previously, they were an Emmy-winning casting director for 30 Rock and cast numerous pilots with NBC's East Coast casting department. We started Stareable Fest as a way of connecting the amazing talent working in web series and indie TV to mainstream Hollywood organizations smart enough to be open to those conversations. And whenever we go into these meetings with networks and studios and agencies to pitch them on being involved in the event, High Maintenance has always been the inspirational show we bring up to demonstrate the kind of creativity and talent and diversity that are happening in web series. Everyone working in the community holds up High Maintenance as one of their aspirational goals. And so it's an incredible honor to present Katja with this award recognizing all they've done for the community. And now, please join me in welcoming Katja.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for this recognition. It was unexpected and I really appreciate it. High Maintenance has been the thrill of my life to make. So thanks for recognizing it.
I think for us, it's both about acknowledging your success, but also the ways in which it's lit this path for indie TV creators. I have been such a super fan of High Maintenance for such a long time, even really before I understood what a web series was. I've seen a number of interviews where you've talked about the origin of the show and the conceit, where the conceit came from, where the central character came from. But given that we're a festival for web series, I figured I'd start out with something a bit more foundational. What made you choose web series as the format?
Well, that felt achievable to me. I'm someone who didn't come from, I didn't have a training in filmmaking or anything like that. And it felt like a low stakes way to sort of, try some stuff out. I thought, worst case scenario, I would have a fun time with some friends making something. And best case scenario at the time that I made it, I thought maybe, because I was working in casting at the time, I thought maybe people would see, I could show that as some sort of like a reel of sorts for my casting. And that was kind of it. And so everything else that ensued was definitely surprising to me. But yeah, it felt like an accessible medium. And at the time, it wasn't terribly saturated. So I didn't, there wasn't a lot of precedent. I felt like it was just this big, wide open, Wild West that could just be explored without a lot of expectations.
Was there a series that you had seen that kind of inspired you or made you realize what was possible?
Definitely. I mean, there were a few. I remember some of the earliest ones I saw. I feel like the earliest one I remember was something called Mimi and Flo, which was a really long time ago. But my friend Hannah Boss was one of the creators of that and actually went on to write on High Maintenance in the first HBO season and is now just a working writer, just, doing lots of plays and TV and film. But yeah, Mimi and Flo was one that was sort of like a choose your own adventure type thing. My friends Candace Thompson and John Peary had also a web series called Other Peeps that was very like DIY, just crazy, a couple of art school kids kind of going nuts. And that also sort of emboldened me to play around. And then honestly, Broad City was something that had come out just ahead of me trying to do High Maintenance. I actually met Alana and Abby when I was a casting director, and that's sort of how I got exposed to them. And obviously it was a great web series, but yeah, I mean, it was such a variety of things. There was no sort of all they had in common was that they were just all so unique and they were all doing such different things. There wasn't really, it sort of demonstrated for me that there wasn't like this one way things had to be. And I think that kind of gave me confidence to play around.
Yeah, I think that's one of the magical things about the form is that, it just allows you to be so experimental. When you mentioned, going into it thinking, well, this could be a reel, it could be, a fun experiment. Did you have any sort of sense that it could be bigger? How did you define success in those early days?
Success was just to me that I would have fun, really, because I really felt like, oh, if this is bad, we don't have to show it to anybody, or we don't have to even like tell anybody about it. And then, once we made the work and got a couple of people giving us good feedback and encouraging feedback, that was sort of when I felt like, oh, okay, we can share this a little more widely. And honestly, I didn't really think beyond that. I never had a notion in the beginning that it would be something that would be my job eventually, or a career, or literally anything that it became. Success to me was just that we would have a fun time, and maybe, also for Ben Sinclair, who is the co-creator of this, who I owe a lot to, because he definitely is an engine that has driven us forward, especially in the early days. But he was a struggling actor at the time, and so I thought, well, maybe he'll get some good real material. Same thing. Like I thought maybe it would get him some jobs, and we were together at the time, so that felt like it would benefit me as well if he would get more work. And that was kind of it. I had really modest expectations, which I think is part of the secret to the success. If I think about it, I think if we had gone in with this expectation that it would be something big, or we had gone in wanting to get some sort of a TV deal or any of this sort of thing, I'm not sure it would quite hold the same. Magic is a word that people have said, so I'm just going to use it. I feel really self-critical of my work, but there was a sort of magic in the beginning, because it was really, we always said it was an art project, and that's true. That's how we conceived of it and how we experienced it in the beginning.
I think that makes total sense. I think what's also so interesting, though, is that, having seen Thoroughly High Maintenance, and as an audience member being struck by the quality of it, but it's so interesting to hear your perspective of like, well, you weren't sure, right? Like there was a chance that you were just going to put it in the drawer and no one was ever going to see it. And I think that's something that everyone struggles with, is like having that sort of confidence that, why am I taking this first step when I really don't know what success looks like or whether I'm going to be able to achieve it. So it's super interesting to hear that, you also struggle with that. I think along those lines,
I still do.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that it's good motivation and that it'll be with us for our entire lives, but I guess we'll see. In those early days, you have no budget, everyone's holding a million different jobs, there's no craft service, you don't know what the future holds. How do you rope people in and motivate them? What do you do to get people to jump in with both feet even when no one knows what the future is?
I think part of the recipe for how we were able to do that, it's a few things. First of all, when it started, I was a working casting director. I was working on 30 Rock, which at the time was super, was critically acclaimed, and everybody, all the New York actors wanted in on that. And, I think with a lot of actors that were like motivated by the chance to like get exposed, and get, as we say, tape, which sounds so archaic now, but again, it's that thing of like getting material for the real. And I think I just had a lot of relationships with actors just from calling them in for things, not just 30 Rock, but other things. So that was a big help. That was a huge resource. I have to say, actors to me were one of our biggest, most valuable resources in the beginning, when we didn't have money or production value really to like offer. Also, I mean, we tried to tap people who also like people who needed, material for their reel. So it was like, or who just wanted to like play around. We aimed pretty, I don't want to say we aimed low, because I feel that we got really quality talent on both sides of the camera, but we weren't like trying to go straight for like people who had huge resumes. We were definitely aiming in a space that felt feasible. And so it was, for that talent, it was a lot of working actors, but then behind the scenes, we were tapping people who were grad students, filmmaking students. So, if you're looking in that arena, it's a lot of people who are constantly looking to sharpen their skill set, who are geared towards spending their free time on exactly this kind of a thing. And luckily a lot of them came with equipment. So, that was helpful. But yeah, we were always pretty straightforward about the fact that we didn't have a lot to offer, but we always tried to make it worth people's while. And we kept our expectations really modest and our time time commitment really small. That is why the episodes were so short in the beginning, because we felt like we couldn't really ask people to like come shoot for 2 weeks, you know, and we're not going to pay you anything. It was a lot of, it was a much easier sell to say, hey, do you have a Saturday to come play with us?
Right.
And people did. So,
well,
and I think Ben was pretty persuasive too.
It's interesting because early episodes, you don't really have famous people. And I remember sitting down, I remember discovering the show and sitting my roommate at the time down and being like, this is special. I really need you to watch it. And there was a moment in time where it was kind of this underground secret that New Yorkers would pass around to each other. And I think that the buy-in is kind of the dream of most indie creators, right? Like speaking to your community, building that audience from the ground up. What drove that word of mouth?
I wonder. I don't know. I think, well, again, I think part of it was that I was already in the industry. Just for, you know, I was already part of the industry, and I already had a lot of contacts who were agents, managers, or indie filmmakers. And then I think, honestly, though, our first press break came from Vulture. Alana Glazer's brother, Elliot Glazer, at the time was like, I think, freelancing, covering media stuff. And Alana must have passed it to him. And then I remember he wrote, like, there was a little blurb in Vulture sort of calling us, like comparing us to Girls or something like that. And at the time, that was a really hot show. Also, that when the web series was released, weed had just become recreationally legal in a couple of states, which was totally unplanned. It just was like a really great fortuitous turn of events for us, that by the time, like, we didn't have a grand plan of when we were going to release. And then, truth be told, it was like a year before we released the stuff that we shot. Almost just happened to be that when we put it out, those were a lot, like the headlines were a lot about recreational weed. And so I think the press was fishing for, you know, going out fishing for content to sort of, you know, point to this development. And there we were. So there was some luck involved.
And so as you started to build up this audience and awareness, what was that path to getting picked up by Vimeo for the second season?
Ooh, what was that? Well, I think we had been making the series for a couple of years at that point. And then Vimeo announced that they wanted to get into the content game, the original content game. And that we just saw like I think we must have seen that headline somewhere, and that they were giving out money, that they were planning on giving out money to content creators, that this was like a new thing coming. And we thought to ourselves, well, why not try to pursue that? We're already on the platform. We had been a staff pick numerous times, so we sort of felt like we were well positioned to maybe get in on some of that money. And then, you know, we were represented. We had agents at that point. We got agents pretty early on. They tapped us after a very short amount of time. And then we just kind of called them and said, hey, what do you think about trying to get us some of that Vimeo money? And that was just very cool. Vimeo got excited to make us their sort of inaugural thing, you know, their inaugural project. And that's kind of just what happened. It was still, you know, very low budget. They definitely didn't write us a huge check. And with that deal came this new model for distribution where it was behind a paywall, which was a little controversial at the time. I think a lot of people were kind of upset about it because it went from being this thing that people passed around, you know, just would send a link and their friend could watch, like what you were describing. And then it became this thing that you suddenly had to pay for, and people did not love that, myself included, honestly. And it was interesting. And also because the budget was still so low, what I found was it's actually easier sometimes to make something with no money and just ask people for favors than it is to offer a very small amount of money. Because, you know, it's like once you have money involved, like people want some. So it was just a lot, I don't know, it was a lot easier to get what we needed and wanted from just asking for favors, and then people were doing things for us or offering up resources out of the goodness of their own heart, versus like some measly like $100 payment, you know, that wasn't terribly sexy to people. You know what I mean? So that was kind of an eye-opening moment for me. And I would say like that sort of continued even into making it for HBO, because it is still, by TV standards, a pretty low budget show. Like it really is. And it's a testament to my amazing crew that we're able to pull off what we do for the shoestring that we're on. But, you know, we do, but it's low budget. And what I found was like, wow, it was so much easier to like, and I was so much more satisfied with the results. Like when we would just like run out into the street, the run and gun, just grabbing stuff, like getting like just real people in the streets instead of trying to like dress and recreate these things with extras. And, you know, just, we didn't know that you can't like just show artwork and things like that. Like you need to like clear it and get permission and all this stuff. And so once you start doing everything above board, it's quite another story. I mean, it really is. And honestly, yeah, it's a real bummer. And like trying to like recreate reality is like painstaking and expensive, and it doesn't always work out. So I actually really cherish the days where we were doing it for, you know, for no money for the web, because I don't know, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, those were better. Like when we just like grabbed what we could and like went out and just got like real world stuff versus like trying to recreate it.
If you could do it all over again, would you take that? Would you go to Vimeo and go that paid model? Because it's such an interesting question of, you know, we should pay for content that we appreciate, right? Like,
yeah,
this is the way in which we support content and creation and creators. And so like that feels philosophically true, but it's something that also creators really struggle with, which is once you put up that wall for audiences to access it, it also kind of narrows what the opportunity is. So
yeah,
with hindsight being 2020, what's your sense of what you do now?
I don't know. Well, I try not to have regrets. I kind of feel like it was all part of the process. And we even, you know, between I actually didn't mention the Vimeo funded iteration of the show actually came after we had gone through a development deal with FX that did not work out. We got a development deal pretty early on, and it was not my most favorite experience at all. and then they eventually passed on us, you know, almost a year into the deal. And the Vimeo iteration was sort of a reaction to that, where we were just like, like, we don't need to be on TV. Like, let's just stick to what we were doing, but like, let's try to get someone to give us some money so we can offer our crew a little bit of money and like maybe do some things a little bit better, get some more music that we want, stuff like that. Yeah, it was very much a reaction to the failed TV deal.
That makes total sense. And then how did that transition happen to HBO? Was it something where you took it to them? Were you talking to a number of different platforms?
No, they came to us, which was nice. They sought us out, and they were kind of like, "What's going on with the show?" And because we kept, the cool thing about when we had the FX deal was that we were able to keep rolling out our own, like we were able to keep making the show still like the web series. So we did, and I actually feel like we released 3 episodes while we were under that deal, and they're kind of like my favorite webisodes. And I kind of feel like that was like the clincher, and that's how we got HBO's attention, I think. I don't know, but yeah, they sought us out because HBO they're really artist friendly, and I think they were paying attention, and yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it all works out in the end, right? So
yeah, definitely.
We frequently hear this, for lack of a better word, lame excuse that people in the industry go looking for diverse talents and they just can't find it. But you have succeeded in creating one of the most diverse, queer, age, body-friendly shows on TV. So I'm curious, what are the places you're looking for talent that others are just ignoring?
I mean, there's nowhere that I don't look. I think I'm always looking from, with some, like, I watch almost everything people send me. And because there's, and I went to a lot of festivals, like shorts programs, like I'm always watching shorts. I don't know. I don't know. I use real people like friends. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm going to any special destination that other people aren't going. I think I don't know. I think also we had now, once now that we got on HBO, we hired another casting person. I'm not casting the show anymore in that way. And so, I mean, I think we've had really excellent casting directors on the show. Our current casting director is Andrew Feminella, and he is he's looking. Like, he's also always looking. He's obsessed with scouting, and he scouts everywhere. He goes to the basement shows and like live shows and like the off Broadway stuff. And I think, he's watching a lot of stuff online, and he also came from he came from Telsey and Company, which is one of the biggest casting offices in New York. And they were, casting for like everything from non-union TV commercials all the way to like super high budget stuff. So it's like he really was exposed to so many like talent that's coming from like all different levels of their career, all different stages of their career. And also like had to do a lot of like real people casting for commercials and things like that. So, if you pick good people to work with, they're going to help out. They're going to help you out too. I can't take all the credit.
Well, so I think that's a great point, right? It's not just about interacting and meeting this talent. It's also about like creating a culture where you foster that sort of diverse and inclusive environment. Are there specific steps that you and your fellow producers, co-creators have done to make that possible?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, like it's not that we have any official mandates or anything that we're setting forth, but it's pretty understood, and we've been explicit about it, but it's understood. Like we don't, to our casting director, please don't just present us with a bunch of straight cis white people who look like, CW leads. Like we're not interested in that. Like that's just simply not interesting to us at all. And to that end, that's I think our writing staff and other creative collaborators also are pretty diverse in a lot of, in various ways. It's like you said, it's creating a culture where that's sort of part of the value system, and then it kind of trickles down.
Yeah, I mean, even just that one step of saying we're not looking for CW leads for all of these roles is quietly revolutionary, right? Because we see what's on TV, and that is that kind of expectation, and it does end up filtering into what are the narratives that you're able to tell with these actors and actresses that you've hired, right? So, have you ever, as you've like taken this very broad lens for the show, have there ever been moments of pushback on some of these like less traditional narratives?
No, never. We've just been really lucky that we went from doing it completely independently, being able to call all the shots, never having to get approvals on anything, to the in the TV space. HBO is like notorious for being super artist friendly, and they really are. They barely give us any notes. Like, they've never once pushed back on anything. And to the contrary, like they've also shouted out what you're shouting out. Like we've also gotten that feedback that they love the representation, they love the casting. Like that's something that they're proud to be associated with too. So we've just been really lucky that we haven't had to endure any of that, because I certainly did. I have cast a CW show actually, and I have been in like the network space when I was a casting director, and I really just from that experience, the decade that preceded this, I was dealing with a lot of just like basic network TV politics and they just turned me off so badly. I thought I am never, like whatever I do, like it has to not be that, or it's just like, what's the point? I don't ever want to direct something like that. I don't want to like even at the time I was like, I don't want to cast anything like that again. It was really just like, yeah, we just tried to create a culture that was like the opposite of that, and have been lucky enough to the gatekeepers of or the money that we get are just like, yeah, do whatever you want.
Is there anything that where you turn to your team and you say like, you see something on TV or you hear a story or a narrative and you like almost put out a flag of like, I want to hear more of that. Is there anything that kind of in the back of your head is like percolating as a community or a narrative that you're trying to elevate in particular?
I mean, nothing's like jumping to mind, but I think, we're all like my creative team, we're all just very curious people who are really into following current events, New York politics, New York culture. We're all like eavesdroppers. We're all just like, I don't know, like I try to staff the room with just super observational people who are just, who are both curious, observational, and kind of our ethos is to be non-judgmental, like to be curious instead of passing a judgment on stuff. And especially since Trump was elected, I think things have felt a little more politically charged, but I mean, what hasn't, since that time? I think there's it's endless what's become, like everything feels political now. And so like that's been the fine line to toe, I think, because the second you get like messagey or I don't know, I don't want to like single out any creative choices that I don't want to go down that road and start being like, I didn't like this and I didn't like that. But I do, if I like reflect back on what we've done, the times where we were when we were leading with that as a objective, like those are not my favorite things. It's kind of better when it just is part of the fabric and not like the thing. So yeah, but yeah, we're all just like super into trying to just be curious and anything that catches our eye that doesn't feel like it's been covered to death, we're like, oh, that's our zone, that's our lane, like let's go with that.
Yeah, so that's I think one of the things I really love about the show. There's this brilliant conceit of using the guy as this non-judgmental window into people's everyday lives, and you take that and you combine it with the weirdness and the variety and the size of New York, and it means you kind of have an unlimited number of stories that you can tell. How do you think about evolving the show from season to season? Have you ever thought about evolving that anthology format or?
Yeah, I will tell you, anthology is exhausting for us. Because you basically, it's like you're making like a new short almost every episode, and sometimes two in one, the way that we do it. And you're having to like fully like reconstruct a whole new universe with every episode, and it's tiring. And I don't know, like in that way, I'm kind of like, yes, like there's infinite amount of stories, but I don't know. I'm really like I'm like dying to do something that's like just following like a core group of people for like a full season, or just like getting to spend more time with characters that we create. It is a little bit exhausting / sad. It's sad like to let them go at the end of every episode and be like, well, I don't know if we'll see that one again. And we don't, like, every season when we've come back into the room, we are always kind of like, it's not a struggle, but it is a challenge to sort of identify like what's working and what's not working, and then like what to revisit and just like how to evolve the show. And you know, there's been some hits and there's been some misses, and that's just kind of, I think, inherent to that format. Yeah, I don't know. We've definitely, like, we've had all kinds of, you know, off the wall ideas about how to, you know, how we could transition the show, but so far I think we just have stuck to the original recipe.
I once read an interview with the Simpsons writers where, you know, each episode starts with that gag of Bart writing something on the chalkboard.
So right.
And it's a fun joke for the audience, but then you think about, they've been doing The Simpsons for 20 years, and they can't think of new things for Bart to write on the chalkboard, and you don't go into it with that expectation of like, oh, this is going to be a limitation over the long run. But it's interesting to hear how, you know, those constraints that you create around a show like ultimately alter how you think about the longevity of it as well.
Well, now I think it's becoming a thing of like, this character, the guy, it's a little different. He's not a 20-something-year-old like weed delivery guy. Like, this guy is hurtling towards 40, and there's just a different feeling about that, and also just the world we live in. And to be honest, like, I have some complicated feelings about even just the conceit of our show, like the story of it, the fact that he's this like white dude peddling weed with no consequence of any kind, like no negative consequence in this climate. It's complicated for me. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I haven't quite wrapped my head around how that gets addressed, you know, going forward. It's tricky, you know, like I said, everything feels political now. That's just how I feel. And so, yeah, it does. The feeling of that, just that aspect feels different than it did 10 years ago. Not that the same situation wasn't happening then, not that we didn't have a disproportionate number of Black and brown people locked up for marijuana offenses 10 years ago. There certainly have always been, but it has a particular tenor to it now, that aspect. And I have to be honest about that. That is something that plagues me a little bit. And I think we're all trying to like wrap our heads around like what to do with those feelings.
Is that something where you could see yourself, you know, evolving the anthology format or involving that central conceit in the context of the show?
I do. I can't speak for anyone else, but I certainly do. Yeah.
So this is my last question. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for this.
No, thank you.
But I've read in interviews where you've talked about how you became a casting director because you love to see the potential and opportunity in someone, which personally really, it spoke to me because I'd say it's the same thing I find very magical about running a festival is you see all this talent and you don't feel like it's getting the appropriate chances and you want to find ways to elevate it. Do you ever watch something on YouTube or name the platform and go, oh man, this is brilliant. I see the legs in this. Anything you'd want to share with us?
I wish I was like quick on the draw on that one, but I feel like I have pandemic brain. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of something specific to shout out, but yes, I do. When I see potential in something and it feels like legitimately something that could go on and be elevated by just getting like a door opened, and if it's in my power to do something, like I do. Like I just do it. I like just try to connect that person, I'll reach out to the creator and be like, what's up, And yeah, I think a lot of us who are in this position of being like gatekeepers or just having a spot at the table, like I think a lot of us want to share the space. And yeah, I wish I could. Like, sorry that I'm not. What would that be?
Oh,
but
so
yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
You mentioned when we spoke a week ago, you're working on a friend's web series. It's kind of a
oh, there you go. Thank you for
coming
that.
back to web series.
Mhm.
Also, it turns out I lied. I have more questions. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that. Like, what's it like to be back in web series, having spent quite a bit of time away from it, working at the highest levels?
Yeah, I'm literally right now I'm sitting on location for a web series that I'm producing and just facilitating and helping. It's a friend of mine who became a friend because they were a performer who I adored, and like I stan this person and became friends with them. That's my style, I guess. And then it's been a few years that I've known them. This person their name is Aaron Markey. They're a New York performer, mostly doing live. They're mostly known for their cabaret stuff and like theater stuff, but just I find them so interesting and unique, and their vision is just like so singular and so interesting. And so, yeah, they called me up a few weeks ago and they were like, I want to do this thing. And maybe you could be part of it and like co-direct it or something. And I'm like, oh, like you got this. Like they have the vision for it. I'm like, I don't need to direct it, but like I would love to support. And I also was going crazy from isolation. And so it was super attractive to me to have somebody like, present this idea. And we're just 12 people. We followed all these protocols, we all got tested a million times. Like we're all just like here at this one contained location in Rhode Island at a friend's amazing compound, and making this thing that's self-funded, and everyone's here because they want to be, and it's just a bunch of friends. It feels very much like the high maintenance days in practice, and in feeling. The project is totally different, but the feelings are there. The feelings are the same. The model is the same, and I couldn't be happier. I'm like, and there's a couple people here who are part of high maintenance, the web iteration, and we're just like, oh my God, this is the best. Like, it turns out this is the most fun way to make something with your friends for fun, without stakes attached, and with like full collaboration with all of us doing like a million different things. Like there's no like rank and file. Like we're all just like moving the shit and like, lugging the gear, and like we've got like producers holding the lights, and you know what I mean? It's just like, it's so lovely, and also just great to like be doing this in this moment right now when there's just like nothing going on. I don't want to step on a real set right now. Like I'm not really there yet. I don't think. I'm sort of like waiting to see what happens with these other productions and how those protocols work out. But like high maintenance, we shoot in real space, like real people's homes, private homes. And I don't know how successful we would be at getting like the locations that we want right now in this time. So, and I just like can't imagine us all like, it's already just like high stakes, high stress to just be doing TV production. So it's like the added anxieties of like COVID contraction and like all of that. Like I don't know. Like the things I'm hearing from people who are on TV shows right now doesn't sound super appealing to me. So this is incredible. I'm having the time of my life. And now I'm like, ooh, like, okay, I kind of want to do this again, like this spring. Like I'm like, what can I make this spring in this same fashion? Because it's so fun. It was just like the best.
And so, like, what are you thinking of? Like, how do you think about blank piece of paper, right? So you have the spring coming up. Like, what does that look like in terms of thinking about, what do you want to spend the next 2 to 10 years of your life on? Probably not an anthology, but like,
no,
how does one go about that exercise?
I think, it could kind of be anything, I guess. It's more just like the production model that I'm really interested in. Like, I don't know what it will be. Like, I have a real interest in like documentary type stuff. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to identify something that could be like a docu narrative kind of hybrid or something. Yeah, I haven't quite, I don't know, I'm like literally just starting to feel creative again. I had a rough time this year, like mentally, like my internal response to this pandemic has been like not feeling super creative. Like this kind of feels like it gave me my swerve back. So I'm like, I gotta put it to use. Like it got me excited. It made me see that it's possible, you know, because I'm like such a doomsday worst case scenario person who's like, oh my God, I'm not gonna like make anything for a few years. Like, and no, turns out you can do it, but you just have to keep it really super small, and you have to set the bar where you can reach it. And that's the advice I give to everybody who's, you know, people ask me all the time. I get so many DMs and emails and whatever from people asking like, what's the secret? Like, how do I do this? Or, you know, like any tips for me? And I'm just like, yeah, my tip is put the bar where you not only can reach it, but where you can like go beyond. And that is like the best place you can start from. Something that feels true to you and something that you have like all the resources to pull off. You got to try to scale your vision to like what you can do right now. And then, you know, hopefully people like it. And then, you know, you kind of build and you maybe get more access to more resources. But I think the biggest mistake that people make at that stage of like when they're in the DIY, you know, trying to get their stuff off the ground on their own, I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make is to just bite off more than they can chew, or like just try to pull off more than they can. Like it's like if you only have access to like that one location and like 2 actors or whatever, well then you should write something that is really great for that, you know, and not try to fudge it too much.
I think that's the perfect place to end this on. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us today. This is such a privilege. We hope you can join us next year. Fingers crossed, we'll be able to gather in person in New York. Stareable Fest
would be nice.
Thank you to our audience for being a part of this. We love seeing you here. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of this impressive community of creators. Thank you again to Dell Technologies, presenting sponsor of the Creator Achievement Award, who makes workstation and monitor solutions purpose-built for creators like you. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors, including AMC Networks, Shutterstock, and Adorama. We'll see you next time. Our next session is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We have a talk back with the creators of our short-form comedy Block 5, featuring Alex Haynes and Jordy Altman from Alex is Black, Heidi Lynch from Avocado Toast, and Misha Calvert from All Hail Beth. Have a great night.
Thank you.